everyone. Thanks for attending this special meeting. Actually, in my tenure for the last 6 years, this is only the fourth time we've called a special board meeting, and we had a lot of response to the rules that were brought forward at the last board meeting, and we felt it was important for us to address those concerns, to get the feedback, and to respond very quickly to the community. So we called this special meeting. Over the past several weeks, our community has engaged in a passionate and at times emotional discussion regarding proposed revisions to rules governing certain activities in the common areas. Tonight, we want to address those concerns directly, explain how we arrived at this point, share the board's decision, and discuss how we plan to move forward as a community. So right off the bat, the board has made a decision. After careful review and consideration of the feedback received from property owners, and the board of directors has decided to withdraw the proposed rule revisions and continue operating within the current rules. I will add, this decision was not made lightly. The proposed revisions were presented at the June 2nd board meeting as a 28-day reading, which is specifically designed to provide the membership with an opportunity to review proposed changes and provide input before any final action is taken. Following that meeting, the board carefully evaluated the comments, concerns, and recommendations and alternative viewpoints expressed by the members of the community, and they were on both sides. Many residents raised legitimate concerns regarding the wording of the proposed revisions and the potential for unintended consequences. Others offered constructive suggestions for addressing the underlying issues without creating unnecessary restrictions. After considering all perspectives, the board concluded that the best course of action at this time is to withdraw the proposals and continue relying on existing rules and enforcement mechanisms. My fellow directors also want to address, again, a lot has come up, and so we want to address various aspects of how we got here, what influenced the decision, and where we go forward. So if each of our directors is going to have a moment to speak.
So how we got here. To understand the decision, it's important to understand why these proposals were considered in the first place. Over a period of several months, board members and staff have received numerous letters, emails, phone calls, text messages, and personal complaints regarding behavior occurring in specific locations within our common areas, particularly near the golf course, cart parking area, and portions of the lodge parking lot. The concerns raised were not isolated incidents. Complaints included blocked access to facilities, excessive drinking, smoking marijuana, littering, public urination, catcalling, verbal harassment, and other conduct that residents believed was interfering with their ability to safely and comfortably enjoy community facilities. In several cases, evidence was submitted to substantiate those concerns. As elected representatives of our community, we have a responsibility to investigate concerns that are brought forward by members. That responsibility extends to all members of the community, not just the ones who attend the meetings and post on social media or speak the loudest, but also the many residents who quietly share their concerns through emails, phone calls, and conversations with the board members and the staff. In response, the board asked staff to review these rules and propose potential revisions for consideration. The purpose of the proposed rules was never to prevent neighbors from gathering, enjoying a sunset, socializing with friends, or taking advantage of the amenities that make Canyon Lake what it is. The intent was to address complaints involving prolonged gatherings in parking lots, vehicle staging areas where behavior was creating disturbances, blocking access, or negatively impacting nearby residents and other members attempting to use those facilities. Likewise, the proposed signage was intended to increase awareness of the existing rules. Much as we have done in other situations, if you look around the community, many members are unaware of all the POA rules, and signs can provide notice that supports consistent enforcement. We have used similar approaches in addressing other areas, such as in educating our members. And however, I want to end with this. Sorry, I'm reading my own writing and it's really bad. So educating our members. And then, however, we will not be placing signs in these areas. And that's all I really have to say for tonight.
One of the most important aspects of this process was the feedback we received from members. Many residents submitted thoughtful, well-written letters identifying specific concerns with proposed language while offering practical recommendations for improvement. Those communications were constructive, respectful, and extremely helpful to the board. We sincerely appreciate the time and effort those members invested in helping us better understand the community's concerns and potential problems. It is important to be clear about one additional point. The board's decision was not driven by the loudest voices, the most aggressive comments, or the personal attacks that occurred throughout this process. Intimidation, insults, and attempts to silence differing viewpoints are neither persuasive or productive and have no place in a constructive community dialogue. What influenced this board were the many residents who took the time to engage respectfully, thoughtfully, and substantially. They identified concerns we had not fully considered. They pointed out potential unintended consequences and offered often practical alternatives that better balance the interests of the community. That feedback mattered. Unfortunately, not all of the discourse followed that example. In the days leading up to and following the June 2nd meeting, a significant amount of misinformation circulated on social media. Assertions were made regarding outcomes that were never intended or proposed rules. These claims understandably created anxiety and frustration among residents. As emotions escalated, demands, threats, and personal attacks were directed towards individuals, including board members. Such behavior is unacceptable and has no place in our community. Similarly, portions of the June 2nd meeting became disruptive. Members shouted over one another, interrupted speakers, and created an atmosphere that some attendees later described as intimidating. I certainly felt uncomfortable. Several residents shared that they chose not to speak because they feared being shouted down or ridiculed for expressing a different opinion. That is not the standard of conduct we should expect from ourselves as neighbors, friends, community members. Respectful disagreement is it's part of our process. Intimidation is not. At the same time, one of the most valuable comments we received came from a member who approached the board after the meeting. He represented a group that regularly gathers in one of the areas that had received some complaints. He acknowledged that some inappropriate behavior had occurred, expressed concern about the impact it was having on others, and noted that many participants were unaware of how their actions were being perceived by the broader community. He asked the board to consider allowing the community an opportunity to address these concerns through awareness and self-regulation rather than implementing additional restrictions. That perspective resonated with many of us.
Thank you, Lainey. As you're all aware, there's been much discussion about the proposed rules, but there's one important point that should not be overlooked. The process worked exactly as it was designed to work, thanks to all of you coming forward and speaking at the last meeting. The purpose of a 28-day reading is not to announce a final decision. It is to invite community input before a decision is made, and you all did that. The board presented a proposal. The membership responded. Concerns were identified, alternative viewpoints were expressed, recommendations were made, and the board listened. As a result, the proposed rules were reevaluated, and as you heard tonight, ultimately withdrawn. This outcome should not be viewed as a victory for one group or a defeat for another. Rather, it reflects a governing process that functioned exactly as intended. The board considered concerns that were brought forward by residents, evaluated potential solutions, received extensive community feedback, and ultimately concluded that enforcement of existing rules, coupled with greater community awareness and self-policing, was a better path forward at this time. This is not a weakness. It is responsive governance functioning as intended. The board's decision is now final. The proposed rule changes have been withdrawn. Existing rules remain in effect and will receive tighter enforcement. At the same time, awareness has been raised regarding behaviors that are affecting fellow residents. We are hopeful that the community will take ownership of these concerns and exercise greater consideration for our neighbors and other members using our facilities and amenities. The board will continue to monitor conditions, respond to complaints, and address specific violations when they occur. We will rely on existing rules and enforcement tools rather than broad new restrictions. We are also hopeful that those who regularly gather in these areas will take an active role in helping to address the concerns that were raised. The opportunity to self-police and demonstrate consideration for fellow residents is, in many ways, the alternative the community asked the board to pursue. We believe that opportunity should be given a chance to succeed. Thank you.
Thank you, Jeff, Laney, and Terry for your additional comments. Just as a clarification, both rules, even the one that was passed for 28-day reading to go forward next month, both have been withdrawn. Okay, so we're not going forward with either one. So at this time, there's an opportunity for the community members to speak if you wish. I do want to remind you that although it's a special meeting, it is typical of our regular board meetings. The board is not able to interact in a dialogue. We're certainly willing to listen to any comments you might have. If there's a clear answer, a fact we can offer, we can offer that. But at this point, we'd like to open the floor to any members who would like to speak. Please come forward. Give your name, your tract and lot, and come forward.
Eric Rogers, 3831117. I'd like to take this opportunity to publicly apologize to you, Mr. Van Vliet. Most of all, I'd like to take the opportunity to apologize to Bill Van Vliet in front of everybody here. I spoke last week and I'm passionate about what we have here. And I had a text to talk email that didn't come out quite how it was supposed to go. I did rephrase that and put the correct information in there, but I'm sure it wasn't received the way it was intended. However, I appreciate what you guys have done here and the reversal of the decision and letting the community work and listening to the people. Mr. Jarvis, I really appreciate your feedback and email back. So thank you for reconsidering, and I really don't have much other to say.
Thank you, Eric.
Joel Farnham, 3869033. I had no intentions of speaking tonight because you guys heard me last week, but just want to commend you guys for listening. You know, regardless of which way this went, it's nice to hear that input was received, input was considered, and input ultimately is what came about this, the ruling today. So good job. Appreciate you guys. I know it's a difficult job. It's a thankless job, but it's nice to know that the voices are heard. So greatly appreciated.
Thank you.
Thank you, Joel.
Well, good evening. Rich Moline, 3831221. Well, you guys certainly know how to draw a crowd. You guys always talk about how nobody attends this meeting. I guess you found out how to accomplish that by trying to pass a new ordinance that had less than 1% of the community behind it. And I'm glad that you listened. I think we really do appreciate that. Jeff, you made a lot of comments about, you know, some of the problems that have been happening, especially up at the country club. You know, I am part of the family club, but I don't sit there, but I've certainly seen it for many, many years. I went back through the security logs and I did not see one ticket, one warning, nothing. When we talk about 1%, I think there's less than 1% that's writing these emails and complaining, because I do not see how in the world the family club and their parking at the clubhouse could be this disruptive. You know, I've been here 34 years. I originally found this place by going to Bear Creek. I found out very quickly Bear Creek was not where I wanted to be. It was an elitist community. As soon as I read this new ruling, I felt like someone on the board just moved in here from Bear Creek because it was an elitist rule. On Facebook the other day, there was a survey and it said 5 things that you like most about Canyon Lake. I'm sure most of us seen it. Living on the lake, living on the golf course, the parks, the concerts. I put down lifestyle. I live here because of the lifestyle and the people. These are my family. And again, I thank you guys for withdrawing this rule, and I certainly hope we never see anything like this again, at least in my lifetime.
Did you leave it on? Yeah. There you go. Name's Bob Burns, 3846043 and 3716357, 37-year Canyon Lake residents. People are already speaking on the merits of this, discussed with the proposal. I won't get into that, but my concern, I was bothered by the fact that there was no official notification of this meeting. People said, well, it's all over Facebook. A member here should not have to be on social media accounts or monitor the POA website constantly to be advised of things like this. Bill, you said it's only happened 4 times. Am I supposed to monitor the website every day? It's really easy to send a group email notification to all the 48 lots that have requested it. This is how we communicate. They said, if you want to be advised, then give us your email. You hit one button, send to that whole group, they get the notification. I never got that. And I think a lot of people didn't. That's why your turnout is about 1/3, my understanding, of what we had last week or less. But so my question was, why wasn't I notified there's a special meeting? And it took me 30 minutes to find it on the website because there was nothing named special meeting. It just went on as, oh, regular meeting Tuesday night. Well, a regular meeting is not Tuesday night. It's the week before. Even in the email, it said that June 2nd meeting was completed. This is what we discussed. The next meeting will be July 7th. Come see us then. But I get email, text updates from the POA as well as the lodge and the country club. I get it about the lot. I get it about changes for Fiesta days. I get all those notifications. That's why I've given the emails. So my question to the board would be, if they're having a special meeting, why did they not notify directly the 4,800 lot members of the property? And my request is that in the future that gets corrected. Okay. Thank you very much for your time.
Excellent feedback. Thank you so much.
Okay, I'm Susan Fitzgerald, lot, let me read that, 3778-143. Okay, my speech no longer is relevant since you guys tabled this, but I absolutely have something I have to say to you guys. I volunteer on the only 2 working groups in this community. I work over 100 hours a month for free to save this community money. The fact that somehow, I don't know who did it, how it happened, that this even came up and somehow a lawyer we must pay said, yeah, go ahead and do that. We need to stop and think, how did we get here? How did you come to some obscure rule, which, by the way, was probably already, and I actually have proof, already committed into other rules. And instead of you enforcing those rules, you came up with new ones. You pissed off the community so much you had to have a special meeting. My question to you is, are we governing yourselves accordingly? Because I'm disappointed. As much as I give a shit about this community, I give a shit about you guys. I appreciate you. But what happened is wrong. You know it's wrong. And why it happened is my question. And that's what I have to say.
All right, 3779-007. I haven't sat on this side in a long time. One thing I want to say, I want to thank you guys for listening. And I want to give constructive criticism from this side. This process in the last just over maybe 10 days, I feel like the community has lost the trust of the board and the POA just in the process. I do recognize that there are drinking issues and alcohol is a factor in this community. And we can all be better servants to this community and probably clean up our act a little bit. But the way this went about and the way it came about caught everybody from right field. And even the family golf club that only last month got a stern warning in a board meeting about executive board meeting about do this again or else. Before that, there'd been nothing. I've been part of family golf since its inception, which I think is like 12 years or longer, and never heard a complaint in the world. But my point is the process here. We have a rules committee. This was never vetted by the rules committee. They could have just maybe some wording, cleared up some things. There was a lot of misinformation that started getting thrown out there because people didn't know otherwise. And I just wanted to use this as a learning experience. Like if we do something that has this big ramifications, that we take the extra steps and maybe trying to educate the community first before you just start throwing new rules out there. But I do thank you. I appreciate you guys. I've sat on that side. I know it's not easy. You're a volunteer. It's not always fun. And this community can be pretty emotional. So thank you guys.
How you doing? Name is John Triolo. Tract and lot 3863-14. I was the one who Bill asked me to leave last week. So anyway, that was maybe wrong on my side because when you started writing down the rules, I didn't realize that was proposed for the 28-day. I thought, holy crap, they've already decided. And so that was on me. So anyway, once again, just like I said last time, I'm a conservative. I absolutely love this community, have always loved this community ever since I moved in. I've talked when we didn't have pickleball courts, even though I didn't play pickleball or tennis, it's everybody's community. I speak up, about the backwater. Even though I don't use the backwater, it's everybody's community, everybody's lake, and everybody should have same access. And, I was speaking up for this, even though I don't go hang out at the golf course or this or that. I mean, the loitering and when it was so vague, just like everybody else had said, I was like, holy cow, this opens the door for way, way too many things. So I believe you guys came to the right decision by, policing the areas where they need to be policed, just like they've always been. And I like I said before, I appreciate everybody on the board and what you guys do for the community. I mean, I work over in Orange County. When I talk about how our community is run, people are just going, no way, associations aren't like that because for the most part, everything is great. But when we saw that, and as you said, you start looking up on social media and there's so vague, your mind starts to wonder with that human attribution error, going through your head, you start making up the stories yourself, coming to conclusions. So once again, I wanted to apologize for walking out last week and just wanted to thank all of you for what you do. And we appreciate the outcome.
Thank you.
Todd Schlesinger, 3868416, and a few other ones, but pardon me. Oh, Todd Schlesinger, 3848416, and a few other ones. Just wanted to thank you guys for the decision. I've lived here for 30 years, back when this building was wooden. So I've enjoyed all the amenities, and for this topic to be brought up really caught my eye, and I'm glad you decided the way you did. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, Sarah Hafner, 3716282. I am a smoker, so I appreciate the withdrawal of the rule. I just have a little bit of constructive feedback for you. at a recent get together, I consider myself a very cautious smoker. I don't smoke in environments where there's a ton of people. I know it disrupts a lot of people, but there was really no place for me to smoke. We talk about making sure the rules affect everybody and everybody can enjoy the amenities. I walked away from the crowd into a middle of a parking lot that was closed, 100 feet from any person. I was approached asking to not smoke, that there was a no smoking event. So if we have future events, I'd rather see a sign that says smoke here. I'll go there. Thank you.
All right. Well, thank you for all the feedback. Again, feedback is welcome. We appreciate the input. There's always things to improve on, and so we welcome that. We've been through a lot in the last couple of weeks, and I believe this provides a moment for reflection. Over the past several weeks, this issue created division within our community. Friendships have been strained. Assumptions have been made. Motives have been questioned overall. It's time for us to move forward and move forward as a community. We all want the same thing. We want a safe, welcoming, enjoyable community where residents can gather with friends, use our amenities, and feel respected by their neighbors. As we move forward, I would just like to ask everyone to give one another, first of all, the benefit of the doubt. Seek first to understand. Listen before reacting. Recognize that reasonable people can have different perspectives while still sharing the same common goal. At the end of the day, we're not opposite sides. We're all neighbors, right? And if we continue to operate and act like neighbors, then we will be what makes this place great. So thank you for your engagement. We appreciate your feedback, your commitment to Canyon Lake. And at this point, I'm going to ask for a motion to adjourn.
Motion.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye.